How's it going out there, YouTubers? Cyberneticshark here with another new movie review for you. So let's get right in this review and see what I saw. So welcome to another awesome movie review, folks. So the movie I will be talking about today is an awesome sequel that took 5 years to get made. Now, a lot of sequels recently I've noticed have become super long productions. Some have taken 10 years, some have taken 11 years, and etc. Now this one I was really surprised it took them 5 years to get this done, but because they were doing subsequent other films in the mix, I can understand why it took, 5 years to get this sequel out. Because the original film was really fun, hilarious, and just awesome, and just a lot of, great and funniness, and just really fun and enjoyable. Especially if you're a big fan of the toys that these movies are based off of as well. Now, the movie I'll be talking about today, or you're probably thinking, what is he talking about? Well, it happens to be the awesome film, Lego Movie, the second part. Yeah. So I saw this a couple weeks ago now. I think it was a fantastic film, really fun, really enjoyable, and had a lot of great music involved in the film. Now, this film actually wasn't directed by the same guys that directed the first film, unfortunately, Phil Lord and so forth. They were a part of it, they helped write it, and were executive producers on it, but actually weren't, unfortunately, the directors of this one. Now, the guy that ended up directing this one is a director of quite a few films over the last few years that has kind of become like a mainstay of directing and being a bigger director, and kind of has shown his work and gotten good publicity. And that happens to be the gentleman named as Mr. Mike Mitchell. Now, Mike Mitchell, like I said, has done a few films over the last years that's kind of gotten him a big name, has kind of brought him to the light, shown that he's a decent director and has some good, directing chops. Now, a couple films that I've actually seen of his that he's also directed were none other than an awesome film that came out a couple years ago that has the voices of Anna Kendrick, Justin Timberlake, and quite a few other big actors and actresses that have been around for the last 10 or so years. Now, this film happens to be a DreamWorks animation film that is just I thought it was a really fun film, lots of great music in it, and it was just a really awesome take on a classic toy that was very popular in the early to late 90s. And that, of course, is the film called Trolls. Oh, yeah. Now, if you haven't seen Trolls, it's a really decent film, really fun, great for all ages, and just a really funny film. I mean, you got basically the premise of the story is these trolls are, that live in this imaginary world, basically, are kind of being pushed out by other trolls that are taking over the kingdom. And these certain trolls that are voiced by Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake and so forth are trying to figure out a way to stop this evil, person from pushing them out of their land and to keep their land, basically. It's just a really fun film. It was an interesting concept, like I said, based on the actual troll toys from the late 80s and the 90s, the early 90s to the late 90s. And it's a fun-filled film, and I thought that Mike Mitchell did a great job of directing it. He gave us a lot of laughs, he gave us a lot of great music, and he also just gave us a fun and silly story. And I really enjoyed that and thought it was a decent film. Now, the other film that he has directed that I think is a fantastic film, absolutely love this movie. I think it's so hilarious and funny and just a silly film, and just really well directed and just really fun and comical. Lots of great appearances in the film by lots of great comedians at the time. This movie is led by the great Rob Schneider, and this was the first time he played this character. He actually made a sequel a couple years later, and that happens to be the film called Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo. Oh yeah. So this awesome comedy was directed by Mr. Mike Mitchell too, who I think has a great comedic chops and is a great directing comedian type of comedy picture maker. And he just was so awesome at directing this film. It was so funny and hilarious. Loved every bit of this film. You got, like I said, you had Amy Poehler popped up in this film. You had Bill Murray's brother that popped up in the film. You had an awesome actor, Oded Fair, that was in the Mummy films, Pop Up film, and so forth. It just is a really funny and silly film, and just so well and beautifully directed by Mike Mitchell, and just he made a great comedy film, and that movie really set the precedence for how good of a director I feel he is, and I think that's one of the big reasons why I think Lego Movie the second part is so good, because I feel a lot of that similar comedy element that was in Deuce Bigalow was in the Lego Movie Part 2. Now, when it comes to directing, like I said, the Lego Movie Part 2, which, like I was just bringing out about how a lot of, I feel like, how he directed Deuce Bigalow, it comes to translation, I feel, in Lego Movie Part 2. I mean, he took what they did with the first film, and he just capitalized on it, and made it even funnier, adding music to it, with some, funny songs and stuff like that, with some really great voice actors, or comedians, I should say, that lent their voices to the film, and just made a really fun film. And I think this one, I definitely don't think this one's better than the first one. I definitely think that it's equal and just as good. And like I said, I think the added music to it was just fun and also silly and hilarious too as well. Very well directed by Mike Mitchell. I thought he did a fantastic job and made a great film. So like I was saying, this has a great voice cast that lent their voices to the film. A few of the people that were in the original film brought back their voices for this film, and then we had a few new additions to this film, playing new characters that we hadn't seen in the previous film. Now, to start off this awesome voice cast, we have none other than the queen of comedy of right now herself, that has just become such a huge name. She's so freaking hilarious and fun, and just a great all-around comedian. And that, of course, is Miss Tiffany Haddish. Now, Tiffany Haddish, you might recognize from Tracy Morgan's new show, The Last OG on TBS. You might recognize her from, SNL stints. You might recognize her from The High Court. You might recognize her from her stand-up, comedy. But a couple films I really enjoyed her and thought she was fantastic in was none other than an awesome Kevin Hart film that came out last year, that she plays a teacher role and is teaching Kevin Hart so that he can pass his GED. And it's a great film that I think was really well directed and funny, and just a really great new comedy classic. And that, of course, is the film Night School. Oh yeah. So Night School, like I said, is basically about Tiffany Haddish, who's this night school teacher that is basically trying to help Kevin Hart get his GED, basically, with all these other adults, basically, that haven't graduated from high school. And basically about the crazy antics that follow with them trying to do this, all kind of like Kevin Hart's crazy schemes and stuff like that, it's just a really fun film. And I thought Tiffany was so amazing in it. She was so freaking funny. She was perfect. Some of the one-liners and just her mannerisms were so awesome and on point in the film. And she just was so funny in the film. And I thought it just once again brought out how great of a comedian she is, and just how great she is at timing too as well. Now, the second film that I enjoyed her in and thought she was fantastic in was a great ensemble female cast film that came out a couple years ago, that hopefully it'll be getting a sequel, because the first one was so amazing and so freaking funny, and just was such a great pleasure of a film to see. You had Queen Latifah in it, you had Regina Hall, you had Jada Pinkett Smith in it. I mean, it just was a great cast and so stinking funny. And that, of course, is the film Girls Trip. Oh, yeah. Now, this film really is what got Tiffany Haddish on the spot, like showing her talent. This movie really was amazing, and she was so freaking funny. She definitely was the best part of that movie, and it just showed how great of a comedian she is, and how great she is at stand-up and just one-liners. And some of the scenes were just so stinking funny with her, and just how she reacted and stuff. And, a lot of that translates into her voiceover for the Lego Movie's second part. She just really knows how to use that comedy talent and do a great performance. Really well done in Girls Trip, and a great pleasure. If you haven't seen that film, definitely check it out. Worth the watch, people. But like I said, when it comes to her awesome voiceover work in Lego Movies to the second part, she just did a fantastic job. I loved her as Queen Whatever You Want to Be, and she just was so stinking funny, and her singing voice was so amazing too. I absolutely loved her singing voice. And even, her being this Lego type of character, her voice was like so perfect for that character. and just did a really great job. Really enjoyed her performance in it and thought she was a really great addition to the film and a great new character to the great Lego film series. So our next awesome voiceover actor that came back from the first film is none other than Mr. Emmett himself, Mr. Chris Pratt. Now, Chris Pratt, we all recognize, of course, from a slew of films, Jurassic World films. We recognize him from Parks and Rec. We recognize him from Delivery Man. He was also on that film show series back in the early 2000s with Treat Williams, Everwood, I believe it was called. And he's a great comedian, great actor, and just a really fun guy to see and do voiceovers and just do acting in general because he's so stinking funny. He's just so perfect at it. And I thought that he brought a great presence to this, to Emmett again. I thought that he brought a great new kind of look into who Emmett is and kind of making his character progress in the Lego movies, the second part, and just how he really kind of brought it and gave us a whole new kind of more and funnier lines and just made it so much fun and more hilarious than it has been. It just was a great performance all in all. And it was great to see him back as Emmett character in this film. Now, a couple films I really enjoy Chris Pratt in, and I think he's fantastic in, is none other than a couple films that I feel are probably, some of his best films. A lot of people will probably agree that he was really good in them, or, they were like, he was okay. He wasn't too bad. I mean, I think he was really good with the ensemble cast, kind of thing. So to start this off, we have none other than an awesome Marvel film that he was in that I think is a great sequel, a great film. I think he was so fantastic in it. I loved where his character went in this one, where they took it and, made his character evolve and just like where basically brings him to where we see him in Avengers Endgame. And that, of course, is the awesome sequel, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Volume 2. Oh, yeah. Guardians 2, or Volume 2, whatever you want to call it. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, basically, this time we see Chris Pratt finally learning who his father is. We learn that he finds out a whole bunch of sleuth things about him, and that he's kind of the main antagonist and bad guy in the film. And then, you got kind of a little bit more of a backstory about Peter Quill and how his relationship was Yondu and so forth and stuff like that. It was just a really well done sequel, and James Gunn directed the crap out of it. And I can't see them making a third Guardians without James Gunn. I just think it was stupid that they fired him over those stupid tweets from 20 years ago. Like, let it go. It's in the past. He's not that same person. I just think that was so stupid when that happened. But anyways, getting back to Guardians Volume 2, it's a great film, and Chris just was amazing in it. I love how, like I said, how his character evolved and just what he did with the role. And it really translates into his, other projects that he has done and since, and how his character translates in the second Lego movie, too, as well. And he just was so great in it, and I thought he worked so well with all the cast and characters in the film, and just was a really great film. If you haven't had a chance to see Guardians Volume 2 yet, definitely check out, people. Worth the watch. Now that brings me to the second film I enjoyed Chris Pratt in, and that I thought he was a really good film. Now this film didn't do so well at the box office. It still was it didn't do too bad. But I thought this was a great sci-fi film, and I don't think Chris gets enough credit for how good he was in the film, and how well he worked with Jennifer Lawrence in the film. And that, of course, is the film that came out in the end of 2016, Passengers. Oh yeah. I absolutely thought this was a fantastic sci-fi film. I thought it was really good, really awesome. I thought Chris was really amazing at it. I love where he had to take his character for, what he had to deal with, with what happens in the film and basically the whole story. And I just thought it was really well done, and I thought Chris did a really great job of playing that character, portraying him, and evolving that character throughout the film, and giving us, kind of a different spin-off, more of a serious role for Chris, kind of, with a little bit of, a comedy element to it, but not as severe comedy as, like, say, Guardians was, or how he is in Jurassic World a little bit, or, his Parks and Rec character or anything like that. This was more of, like, a sci-fi action flick. drama type of flick, and I really enjoyed seeing him, show that he has the drama acting type too, and that he is that type of, he's a very well-rounded actor, and I thought he did a really good job in it. So, like I was saying earlier about him re-portraying Emmett in the Lego Movie Part 2, like I said, I really loved how he evolved, how he changed it. I love some of the new one-liners he had in the film, and I thought that he brought the great awesomeness that he was in the first film to this one as well, and just was a great, awesome, new, evolution of that character. And I really enjoyed that they brought in that his alter ego in this one too, where he plays the danger guy, and how like this is Emmett when he becomes like basically altered and changed because of something bad that happened to him, and how he become more serious and became more stern, and he's more of a superhero now and stuff like that. And I thought that was a really cool new character to bring into evolve with and show what could happen to Emmett if that actually the cynicism became part of him, and how it's so different than who the Emmett he is now. And I thought that was really awesome and fun, and just another great a use of Chris Pratt's voice in the film. Really well done, really, really classic, really great, and really enjoyed seeing Chris Pratt back in this film. Now that brings me to the third character that was brought back to this awesome film, and another awesome actress that returned to do the voice. And that, of course, is the awesome, beautiful Miss Elizabeth Banks. Now, you might recognize Elizabeth Banks from like such films as The 40-Year-Old Virgin. You might recognize her from directing Pitch Perfect 2. You might recognize her as being in the Pitch Perfect films, and so forth, and a ton of films over the years. Now, she, I think, is just a really fun and great actress and can play so many different types of roles. And I just thought that her voiceover for this film and for the previous film, she did just a fantastic job. And this was a great addition to playing that character. And I think her great comedy, chops really translated to this character as well. Now, a couple of films I really enjoyed her and thought she was fantastic in were none other than an awesome film from 2008 starring the awesome Seann William Scott and Paul Rudd. And that, of course, is a film called Role Models. Oh, yeah. Absolutely love this film. Thought it was so freaking funny. So well directed by Paul Feig. So stinking funny and hilarious. Just a really great film. I'm sorry, I don't think it was Paul Feig that actually directed it. It's somebody that's similar to him that did Wet Hot American Summer. My bad. I can't remember his name at the top of my head right now. But he directed the film, not Paul Feig. But anyways, but still, it's just a great film, and I absolutely love Elizabeth Banks' character in it. I love how she plays kind of like the, more mature of the coupling and having to split up with Paul Rudd's character to try to get him to grow up and so forth and stuff like that. And I thought that she just did a really good job in it, and I thought she was funny. I liked how she was kind of more, very, very much, more mature and not as comical as her previous roles have been, and how she was kind of the mature subject in the film, and I really enjoyed that. I thought it was something a little different for her, and it was fun to see her play that out, and I thought it was just a really well done role. Now that brings me to her second film that I really enjoyed that she did. Now this film didn't get a lot of praise. It wasn't a huge hit. It's probably one of the films that Kevin Smith has directed that people thought that was kind of not so great. But Jason Mewes was in this film, Seth Rogen. It had a huge, great cast, and I thought it was a fantastic and funny film. And thought it was a great idea and showed another side of what Kevin Smith can direct. And that, of course, is the film Zack and Miri Make a Porno. This, the name alone is so freaking hilarious and funny. I think it's so freaking hilarious that a lot of times they've actually abbreviated the name of the film because they don't want to say porno, which I think is so funny. It's like, so porno. Like, what's wrong with saying that word? It's just describing what that subject is. It's not like you're going into description saying exactly what it is. You know what I mean? So it's like, just, it's stupid. But at the same time, I think this is such a great movie, and I think that Elizabeth Banks was so awesome in this film. I thought she was so great, so fun and hilarious. Did a great job, and just was a great addition to that film. And it really showed her, a little bit of her, like, again, once again, kind of her mature acting chops. I felt that there was a lot of serious element to the film other than comedy. And I thought that really showed how she's very versatile and how good of an actor she is. But when it comes to her character, once again, being the Lego movie, second part, she once again brought the character again. I love how her character evolved and how we learned something new about her and how Elizabeth translated that very well to the animation and with her voiceover. And I thought that she did a fantastic job. Really well done. Worth seeing the movie just for that performance too as well, I feel. And really great to have her back in this film. So we come to the last actress that we'll be talking about in this movie review today. And that, of course, is a new addition character that was brought into this film for the first time. And this actress, comedian, lent her voice to it, and which I could not believe it was her voiceover, actually, until I found out who it was. And I was really surprised because her voice sounded so different than what her character sounds like on the current TV show she's on. And that, of course, is the awesome and gorgeous Miss Stephanie Beatriz. Oh, yeah. So if you don't know who Stephanie Beatriz is, she is actually Rosa on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That is, this great actress, comedian that's in the show along with Andy Samberg and, all the awesome actors and characters on the show. Just a really fun show. And I couldn't believe that it was her voiceover that was in this movie as this character, as General Mayhem. And I was like, holy crap, that's her voice. I'm like, no way, that's amazing. And I just thought it was really cool that she lent her voice to this film and gave us a whole new kind of cool character that was fun to get to know and fun to hear her voiceover and stuff like that. Now, a couple things you might know Stephanie Beatriz from, or ones that I've heard of that she was in. I actually haven't seen one of them. I have seen the other one. But the first one I'll be talking about is an awesome Paul Rubin film that Netflix put out that reintroduced the world to the awesome Pee Wee Herman that hadn't done a movie in like 20 plus years. And of course that is the film called Pee Wee's Big Holiday. Now I heard that Stephanie Beatriz was in the film. I don't know who she played or where she was in the film, but I heard that her character was pretty funny and fun to see in the film, and so different than her Rosa character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and how it was a different type of showing her acting chops and how good of an actress she actually is and comedian. And so that's gonna be interesting to finally check out eventually to see exactly what that role was and see where how different Stephanie Beatriz can be from her character as Rosa in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now, the other film that she did another voiceover role in that I have seen the film. I really enjoyed the film. Thought it was a great, a new addition to this already great, cinematic series that is just a really awesome and funny and great, well voice cast roles that have brought a lot of great love to children and people of all ages. And that, of course, is I'm talking about the Ice Age series. And the film I'm talking about in the Ice Age series is actually the recent and most recent one, Ice Age Collision Course. Now, Stephanie Beatriz lends her voice to the character Gertie. Now, I can't remember if that is Manny and Queen Latifah's character's daughter. I believe that's who it is. But I can't remember off the top of my head because it's been a while since I've watched it. But I do recall there being a voiceover in the film that I was like, who's that voice? And it was Stephanie Beatriz. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a great voiceover. I thought she did a great job. And I thought that, once again, she was almost like a chameleon. You didn't recognize her voice. And I thought that was really fantastic and really well done. And just a great other performance by Stephanie Beatriz, showing that how great of an chameleon actor she can be, and comedian as well. But if you haven't seen Ice Age Collision Course, definitely check it out, people. It's such a great movie, so stinking funny, and so hilarious. Definitely check it out, people. Worth the watch. Now, it comes to, like what I said previously about General Mayhem, Stephanie Beatriz's voiceover. Like I said, I thought it was fantastic. Great new introduction to a new character. And I just thought that she brought a lot of her great comedic talent from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and other things she's done to the role. And I really loved how she was kind of a serious character, too, at the same time. along with being, kind of sincere and, like, we just want to be friends and so forth and stuff, and kind of like she was like a, like a teenage girl almost, which I thought was really interesting. I thought she did a fantastic job, really well done, and just really amazing and very fun and all. Great performances by all, and great, voiceovers for this film. Now, if you're not familiar with what Lego Movie 2 second part is about, basically this time we find Emmett and his love interest, played by Elizabeth Banks. Basically, this time around, it has been several years since the events of Taco Tuesday, and the world has seen aliens supposedly, and they've been fighting them off, and basically their world has become a desolate wasteland. And alien invader comes down and kidnaps Elizabeth Banks' character and a few of the other characters that we've seen in the previous film, and Emmett has to go and save them, basically, and that's what the movie's about. Really fun, really awesome, really well done, greatly directed by Mike Mitchell. A must-see, people. It's worth the watch. So fun. If you haven't seen the first one too, check that one on first, then go see this one. This one was so well done. The music in it's amazing. Everyone in it is so perfect and awesome. A really well-rounded film. Giant 10 golden movie boxes up on this one, folks. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. In theaters now. Go see it, people. Worth the watch. Yeah. So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And also, thank you for subscribing. If it's your first time here, or if you've been here before, and you haven't hit that subscribe button, do I have to create a Lego paradise to have a point at that button? Come on, people. Hit that button so you don't miss this video or any of the awesome videos I put up. And as always, people, keep your eyes out for any older or newer videos you might have seen mine yet. As always, people, check out the awesome Stardust app where you can watch 3 to 30-second little mini reviews of awesome TV shows, trailers, movies, anything your heart desires, where awesome new contests and giveaways are always added to this awesome app, and it's free. So definitely check that out, people, and look for me under the Cybernetic 13. Follow me, and I'll follow you back. And as always, people, remember, there's a contest going on. Like I said, all you got to do is, 1, be a subscriber. 2, leave a comment down below why you would like to win the prize, which is Krampus, by the way, unopened with digital HD. And number 3, like this video. And that's it. That's all you gotta do. And once I have been doing this for 30 days of this contest, I will announce a winner randomly, etc., all that kind of good stuff. So, yes, please, people, enter the contest. Please! I'm trying to give you something for free. Anyways, and as always, catch you next one.